Okay, so this video is about farm resources, like Nano Spores, Ferrite, and Polymer, most commonly farmed by island hunters a lot. And these are some farms that I use, and we're going to be going to, so the Ferrites for ciphers, Nano Spores is for ciphers and energy pads, and Polymer is for energy pads. So we're going to go into Ostrus. Okay. Now there's two tile sets, an Ostrus, an Eris, that we're looking. Well, we're looking for one actually, but there's two when you enter in. So let's see if we get the right one. The right one will have two waypoints. Nice. So there's two waypoints here. As soon as you load in, you'll see the two waypoints. If you only see one, then you know you're in the wrong map. So in the Nanospore, of course, with more people means that more enemies will spawn. So we're just going to be placing down our Strengodomes like so. Let the Strengodomes do the work, because what it is I have the Pilfering Strengodome on my Korra, which means 65% of the time you're going to get an extra drop when you kill something in the Strengodome. Now, so the enemies die, they drop a loot. Strengodome has a 65% chance to drop an extra loot. But the big thing about Strengodome, why we use Korra, not only can we put two Strengodomes down, but the Strengodome itself is slash damage, and it splits the enemies in half. As you see, the two parts. Each part can be desecrated by Necros. So, like I said, they die, Strengodome 65% of the time, and each half of the enemy can be desecrated by a Necros. And that's why Korra's, I think Korra's the best, because of that guaranteed split. You want to be destroying the disruptors when you're doing the Nanospore farm, because the disruptors is the only things that anyone should be killing, since disruptors will be making you making all the enemies not connect. Now, on this Nanospore farm, as you see, the timers go down. Well, when it's going down, as you see, the decryption's not going up. We're going to make this go as slow as possible. Now, how I do it is I only keep one of these vaporizers alive. So the vaporizer needs the anti-serum, and with only one of these alive, the mission will still go on, and well, we'll have less scaling enemies. So once the target is around no less than 10, no higher than 20 is my rule of thumb, I will pop one in. They'll go blue whenever, wait, oops, there we go, goes blue, and now the decryption's going up. So that's really, we're trying to make the mission as long as possible. And with the mission as long as possible, then that means that we're able to continue on the run. You see, the higher, the more, you see how fast I'm gaining decryption? I don't want to be having the terminals way too high. And when you start the next round, if you do go a second round, the next round automatically starts at 25% on your whatever's alive. They'll go to 25%, if not higher, from when you start the next round. So we want to make sure that the mission goes as slow as possible, so the enemies are still low level. And also, we want to be destroying the ancient disruptors and not killing things with melee weapons. That's how I do my Nanospore farms. Just putting down my two Strengodomes and just letting everything kill. Alright. The Nova will be using their fourth ability in the middle of the map, or anywhere, just every about 10 to 12 seconds is my rule of thumb for their molecular prime. Remember, this is a speed buff. The faster the enemies get caught in the Stringdome, the faster they'll die, and the faster they'll respawn. So we want them to run to the Stringdomes and get caught up as fast as possible. And they're going to be casting their fourth ability every 10 to 12 seconds, like I said. And of course, it's a speed buff. That's about it. Of course, they're not going to be killing, and unless it's a disruptor. And now Necros. Necros is going to be having their third ability up, preferably with Despoil. It's the augment. You see, Necros passive is really nice. Necros passive is enemies killed around you will drop extra health orbs, and Despoil uses health instead of energy on your Desecrate. So that's what I'll be focusing on if I was playing Necros. Lots of range, of course. Now, I'm just going to hop back to Nova real quick. I kind of forgot to mention that you want duration, not necessarily range on a Nova. The higher the duration, the farther it goes out. The higher the range, the farther it starts out at. Okay, and of course the strength matters a big amount, because the lower the strength, the faster enemies move. The higher the strength, the slower they move. 70% strength is the middle point. So at 70% strength, that's neutral. They don't move faster, they don't move slower. And we want to make sure that we have as low a strength as possible, so power donation is key on a Nova. Okay, and everyone else should be running Corrosive Projection to make sure they have as low armor as possible, since Korra is not like Hydroid and doesn't do true damage. If you're killing Disruptor, anyone should be using a slash-based weapon as well. Hope this helps you out for a Nano Spore farm. Okay, we're going for Polymer this time. Oh shit. Okay, we're going for Polymer. Polymer is pretty simple, but we need to have a room. In the special room, I'm going to be looking for it here real quick. So you just go through the map. You find it. You find it. If you don't, you don't. That's basically it. You might have to look a little bit longer sometimes. You don't have to look. It's the first room. So we're just going to jump around and go through the map. Let's see if we find it here. Here it is, I believe. Okay. So, you see these two tubes? This is what we're going to be looking for, basically. That's how I know I am in the right room. So this door is what we're going to be focusing on, but you can't get in there. Now, to get through, all we have to do is go underwater. Come up. And now we got a console. Hack it. It opens the door. I'm just going to stay without it hacking until the very end, so I can have without enemies attacking me while I explain this. So, what Korra's going to be doing is going to be casting her Strangledome inside the room. This makes all enemies attached. Well, they'll be attached to the Strangledome from outside and come towards, because it has a AoE grab. As you see, enemies are dying right now while the door is closed. But their AI is broken because we don't have the door open. There's no pathfinding. The enemies ain't going to go down and swim and come up and come and grab us. So the strategy is, in this room, there's two rooms in this Ophelia on Uranus. And what we're doing is we're casting two Strangledomes in the same spot, since one Strangledome can only attach to 26 enemies. If I'm mistaken, sorry about that. But it's either 23 or 26, I can't remember right now. Maybe 28. I can't remember at the moment. That's alright though. That's why we cast two in the same spot. And this way, it's guaranteed to detach them all. So what we have here is, you see on the map here on the top, right here, and we have the, okay. So let's straight out. Okay. So as you see here, we have 2 rooms here. We have a room here, and we have a room here, and they're going to be coming from over here. So enemies will be spawning. This is a new room. They'll be coming up here, coming out through here, and they'll be spawning at the outskirts here and coming in. Now, there's 3 doors, basically 3 different directions they're coming from. And with this, it's the same thing as the Nano Spores. We're going to be using the Cora, but we're going to be using a couple different tricks. So we have, my strategy, of course, is we have the Cora in the middle doing their Stronodome, and then we have a Vera outside, wherever you see more traffic. So you're going to look at your map and notice where you see more enemies coming from. And a Vera will be on either side, wherever the more enemies are coming from, because typically the right or left hand side of here is going to be more enemies. Now, wherever more enemies is coming from, you're going to be out there pickpocketing them. I'll be explaining that a little bit later. And then there is a Necros and a Loki, or instead of the Loki, some people like to use 2 Necroses, because only one, a Necros can only desecrate 1 body every, 3 body parts every 1 second. Sorry, 3 body parts every 1 second. And with 2 Necroses, you can desecrate more every 1 second. A body part cannot be desecrated if it disappears. So there's a decay rate. Every faction has its own decay rate. But remember, if whatever faction gets hit by a molecular prime, if there is a nova, for example, it's going to decay within 3 seconds. Very key to know. So if you ever run a nova, typically you're going to be running 2 Necroses. We're not going to be using nova in this Ophelia run. What we're doing is we're going to be running a Navera, Cora, and 2 Necroses, or 1 Necros and a Loki. Loki's going to be using his decoy in front of the door to attract them all around and come in the door and come in, or get caught by the Strangledome, of course. And of course, you're going to be using the decoy outside the room, because if you're just staying inside the room, well, that will it's some AI functions in the pathfinding, so we want to use it outside that door that we opened from going underneath. Now, the Avera is going to be using pickpocket. The higher the duration, the faster you pickpocket. The higher the range, the farther you pickpocket from. And most key, you want it minimum 100% strength. You see, how much strength you have on your build, going from 100 and lower, will be the percentage of chance that you get a loot from. But anything over 100 will not give you any benefit for more loot that you can pickpocket from an enemy. So we want to be making sure that we have at least 100% strength. Anything more is useless. So don't touch your strength. And we're going to go for as much duration, because the faster you pickpocket, the faster you can move to another enemy. Of course, when you're in Prowl, that's when pickpocket is the function. I call it pickpocket. I don't know the real term for it, but pickpocket is the term that I use, and it's basically when you're in Prowl, when you're close to an enemy, you'll see this little energy tether kind of thing go out, and it will take one item, but it's not taking, it's spawning another one kind of idea. Because when you pickpocket something with a Vera, after you kill them, they still drop more loot. It's just another roll from the drop table, which means that with the Ophelia, with a Vera, you think about it, they die, they drop a loot. Cora, 65%, they're going to drop a loot. they get split in half, so that's 4. And the Necros desecrates each half. The Avera has another, so that's 5 potential loot from one enemy. Of course, the Loki in the run would have as much duration as possible, and they're going to be using their decoy. And hopefully that solves some of those questions about farming polymer. We're going to go for the other tile set, and I'll show you where I do that, and then we'll hop over to some ferrite. Okay, we're doing Ophelia. This is commonly referred to as the snow room. There's just a bunch of snow in it. So I go up the bridge, and I go down around. You're going to see this little cavity in here, and this is where we're going to be casting our 4th ability. With this area, we're going to be getting enemies. This is a big tile set, as you see. This see how big this is. It's like right here, and we got enemies coming in. And this is fairly good poly spot as well. Now, with this area, I typically use an Avera. Primarily, I use an Avera. And I'm going to be standing, like, I'll be moving from here to, like, right here. So, Avera's pickpocket will go through walls, by the way. And, the pickpocket also on Avera is global, so it's not just you that gets the loot, it's everybody. Now, this is the room. It's just in this little cavity. Of course, the Necroses are full range, of course, and I'll show you the core build, and I'll show you all the builds at the end. Okay, so this is the area. You see the enemies are just coming in. It's an alright. It's definitely alright. Alright, so these 2 rooms for polymer, and we'll be going to the ferrite, the ciphers. Alright, so both those polymer bundle farms were in the Ophelia on Uranus. Now, ferrite, void, Annie. As soon as you spawn in, if you see one door, you did it right. Well, you didn't do it right. You got the right tile set, I should say. And we're just gonna go right in here. I'm just not. Well, we have to start the mission, of course, see the enemy spawn, but for convenience, of course, I'm not going to do that. And ferrite, my strategy is, well, with an Avera. So Cora's going to be using their stringdome right here. And we're going to look at the map here. I'm going to make this straight. Okay. So enemies will be coming through here. As you see, like right through here. They'll be coming through. And they'll also be coming through. Okay. Right here and right here. But behind me is nothing. But on top, that's what will be coming through. And down through here. So the same thing goes. There's going to be disruptors. Destroy them. And we're going to be casting our stringdomes. Oh, right here. Okay. There is an Avera on this run. Avera typically will be standing here. But they're going to be moving around a lot more in a fairy farm. And enemies be coming through here as well. So, since you can only pickpocket one enemy, and after it's pickpocketed, you cannot pickpocket it again, once you get this group of enemies, you're going to be going over here and grabbing any enemies coming before the stringdome attaches to them. And going back over here, maybe hit a couple of these guys, go over back down here, and repeat. This farm does not use a Loki. This farm is going to use 2 Necroses. Wait, is it 2 Necroses? You can use 2 Necroses or you can use a Nova, but it's all up to you. Remember, Nova, if you use a Nova, you want to have 2 Necroses, and then you're missing out on your Avaro. 5 loot per enemy is pretty powerful. I'm going to say that right now. Now, it just depends on how long you want to stay. What else is there about this? This is for Ferrite. And there's 2 tile sets, just like the Nano Spore. And it's pretty simple. Definitely. Alright. Okay, so let's go get some builds. Alright, so we're in the core build. And we got our build. Pilfering Strangledome, of course. 65% chance of dropping additional loot. And this does synergize with Necros, of course. We got our high duration, so we don't have to be casting all the time. Decent efficiency. Lots of range. This is for Nano Spores, of course. And the strength. The builds are different for the resources that you are farming. I find the half-ranked Transient Fortitude's great, but it's all up to you and what you want to do. Just keep notes on the range and the strength is really what you want to keep tabs on. The efficiency is all up to you, and the duration, well, it's how many times you want to cast it. All right. Still charge, optional. Cross projection is a better choice, but I'd have to sacrifice on something else. So it's all up to you, like I said. Now, Polyfarm. Note that I have 104 range. 104 range is for the room that we go underneath the water going up. The other room can use a little bit more range, like in between a Polyfarm and a Nanospore range. So you could actually, I would say, put on 130, be okay. More range the better in the other room, realistically. I guess you could actually use this farm build, the Nanospore, for the other room, the snow room. But this build right here is for the under the water and going up that room. So the reason why we have 104 is because of how the geometry of the Strangledome works. We don't want it to bounce off of the room and have that zigzag going, like the Z going in and out. We want a circle going as close to the edge of the room as possible to get the maximum amount of range. Because if the outermost peak is actually up and then in and then out and then down and around, and same at the top, down and up and around, we're not going to get that edge out for the maximum amount of range. So more range is actually more detrimental to you in that room, for example. I personally prefer under the water and going up that room, but it's all up to you. And that's a very good build for the place that, well, under the water. And the Nano Spores, just for the snow room, you can use that. There's no harm in it. Of course, Pilfering Strangledome is a must. And always bring a Kavat. A Smita Kavat is going to bring you wonders. You don't want your Kavat killing things, so you take off the mods that make them kill things, but you still have your Charm and Animal Instinct's always good to know which way the enemies are funneling in. I do have Fetch on there because, well, who doesn't like Vacuum? And Tech Enhance increases duration. Increases the duration of Charm. Charm can stack. And Charm can, it gives you double resource. It's one of 5 buffs. So that's what I do. I don't have any attacking mods on here. I just have survivability for my Kavat. You see, I don't have Bite on there. I don't have other attacking mods. I just have passive, so I can utilize the Stringodome killing the enemies. And I don't want my Cavat running out there all the time and distracting the enemies, and not only killing them, but distracting them and halting them. So we don't want that either. Faster they die, faster they respawn. Simple as that. The Ferrite build is my Polymer build as well. So it's most beneficial because we don't want too much range. You see, the reason why we don't want too much range for a Ferrite build is kind of unique. Do you recall that I said the Avera was on top and they were going down once in a while to if they got all the enemies in that one door? If your Stringodome is too high, then the enemies are going to get attached by the Stringodome from atop of the level and get attached. If an enemy gets attached by Stringodome, you cannot pickpocket them anymore. So you have a nice range. I'd say 100 range is the key for Ferrite, and you don't want any more, because if you have any more, what happens is, well, they get attached and you can't pickpocket them, which makes it only 4 loot, and there's no real point of a Vera. Anyway, just like to point that out. And now I'm going to say this one key thing in between the two builds, the other, like the Novas and all that stuff, is if you guys are AFK, now 45 seconds or longer, this is my rule of thumb, there's an AFK timer in this game. If you're considered AFK, the enemies, like the game considers you not in the game anymore. If you're not in the game, then the enemies stop spawning. So there's 4 people in the match. Awesome. Maximum amount of enemies are spawning. Now, one person goes AFK. Not only is their aura not working, but also what happens is the game is like, okay, now there's 3 people in the party, which means less enemies are going to spawn. And to counteract this, all you have to do is move 5 meters away from yourself. Look down, put a waypoint, move more than 5 meters away from that point, and then every 45 seconds, and that will beat the AFK timer every time. Using an ability does not make it so you're not AFK. Just going to make that clear. Jumping up, straight up, jumping down does not cancel this AFK. You got to be moving away, left to right, forward, backwards, horizontal, in a direction. More than 5 meters. It's very key to make sure maximum enemies are spawning. This applies for everybody in the party. Host, not host, it doesn't matter. Move around. The game is not an AFK simulator in the first place. Okay, so let's go on to another frame. This is my Nova build. Alright, so it's pretty simple. We're going to be running, it's going to show 40, but we're not in the mission. So our aura mod is not active in the build, but it will be 10% when we go into the mission. And this build is the lowest strength you can get. Of course, like I said, you want as much duration as possible. 130 efficiency is great. And the range is how far it starts out at, of course. But this is my build for the farms. I call it Magova. And this is most commonly known as a Speedva. Alright, hope that helped. And we'll be going on to the next build. Of course, it's every 10 to 12 seconds you'd be casting your ability. So you want to have at least a little bit of efficiency on there. If you recast your Nova's 4th ability, Molecular Prime, it will, what happens is if you recast it while it's still going out, it will cancel the wave that goes out, and any enemies caught in the wave will be affected. Of course, lower the strength the faster they move. So if we spam the fourth ability, what happens is it goes out, and then it goes out, and it goes out, but it doesn't go out all the way. And you want to give it some time. That's why I say every 10 to 12 seconds, and then you recast it. All right, so that is my Nova build, and hopefully that helps. We'll be going on to the other ones. All right, so we're on Avera now, and well, we need the duration for the speed of it pickpocketing. The efficiency doesn't matter as much. That's more of my dumb stat right now, because we're not using the ability constantly. We're just in the ability the whole time. We're focusing on duration and range, but the key point is never go below 100% strength. So the range is how far you pickpocket from, duration is how fast you pickpocket, and you can only pickpocket one enemy. Like, each enemy can be pickpocketed once, and yes, we don't want to be lower than 100 because, well, like I said earlier, anything lower than 100 will be that percentage to get a loot from an enemy. You're guaranteed one loot from an enemy with 100% or more. More than 100% will not give you anything extra. And that's my my build for Avera. All right. And lastly, we got Necros, the easiest one. So we're going to be focusing on range. Super simple. We don't need strength. We don't need duration, because your third ability it's not focused on duration. But here's a key thing: efficiency. Efficiency does matter. Now, efficiency is the amount of efficiency that you have on Necros when you're using Despoil is how much energy or how much health is used per desecrate. So having higher efficiency equals lower health taken away from you. Now, like I said, Necros has the passive of giving you additional forces allies to drop additional loot, but it also gives you more health orbs. So it's really nice to have Despoil on, so we can use Vitality, keep her health up, and that's all we really need. Cross projections on all of them. If you can fit it. And hopefully that helps. It's very simple. The reason why I didn't lower the rank of my fleeting expertise, because 175% is the highest efficiency you can have, is because we don't need duration. So I just slapped it on to ensure that it doesn't really, just to show, really. Anyway, hopefully that helps you guys out, and see you in the next one.